The rain was merciless that night. It lashed against the city streets like 1,000 tiny daggers, cold and relentless, washing away the colors of the world into a blur of gray and gold. Amid the downpour, a woman in a soaked white blazer struggled to pull herself up from the wet pavement. Her wheelchair lay overturned beside her, one wheel still spinning helplessly in the rain. She was shivering, her once perfect hair clinging to her face, her eyes wide with panic and pain. Her trembling lips parted as she whispered, "Please, don't hurt me. I can't walk." If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of compassion, then take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Because this story might just remind you that sometimes, the people who save us are the ones who are hurting too. Her name was Ava Sinclair, a name that once echoed through boardrooms and business magazines as the youngest and most successful CEO in the city. She had built an empire from the ground up, a woman admired, envied, even feared. But that was before the accident, before a speeding drunk driver shattered her spine and her world in one cruel moment, before she woke up in a hospital bed with doctors telling her she would never walk again, before her fiancé walked out, saying he couldn't handle the new her. Now, she lived in silence. Her luxury penthouse felt like a prison made of glass and steel. The woman who once commanded thousands now couldn't even reach her own kitchen shelf without help. Her company continued without her. The board forced her into medical retirement, and her so-called friends vanished. The only thing that remained constant was the quiet ache of loneliness that crept into her bones every night. That night, she had gone out alone for the first time in months. The storm had rolled in faster than she expected. Her wheelchair hit a bump near the alley, and before she could react, she was thrown forward, crashing onto the cold, unforgiving street. Her phone had fallen somewhere in the dark, the rain muffling every sound except her own ragged breaths. And that was when she saw a shadow approaching. That a tall figure stepped out from the dim light, broad-shouldered, soaked to the skin, his hands raised slightly, as if to show he meant no harm. But fear had already taken hold of her. The city wasn't kind to women alone at night. Her heart pounded as she whispered those desperate words, "Please, don't hurt me. I can't walk." The man stopped instantly. His expression softened. In a quiet, steady voice, he said, "I'm not here to hurt you. Please, let me help." And before she could object, he carefully righted her wheelchair, lifted her with surprising gentleness, and placed her back into it. She felt his hands, rough, warm, and trembling slightly, not from the cold, but from something else, maybe fear or empathy. He knelt in front of her, his eyes filled with concern. His name was Ethan Brooks, a single father trying to hold his world together after losing his wife 2 years ago to cancer. He worked double shifts at a nearby repair shop, lived in a small apartment, and did everything he could for his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, the little girl now standing beside him in a bright yellow raincoat, clutching his hand. Ava couldn't take her eyes off the child. Lily looked at her not with pity, but with curiosity, pure and innocent. "Daddy, she's hurt," the girl said softly. Ethan nodded, looking at Ava. "Let's get you out of the rain," he offered. Something inside Ava hesitated. The old pride, the instinct to reject help. But then another part of her, the one that had been silently breaking for months, whispered that maybe, just this once, it was okay to let someone care. She nodded. Ethan pushed her wheelchair under a nearby awning, covering her with his jacket. They waited until the rain softened into a drizzle. As they sat there, Ava found herself watching the man who had stopped for a stranger when everyone else walked by. His eyes carried a quiet sorrow, the kind that came from loss and long nights of pretending to be strong. Lily leaned against him, humming softly, her small hand wrapped around his arm, a tiny anchor in a storm. When Ethan offered to call her a cab, she surprised herself by saying, "No. Could you walk me home instead?" And he did. That night became the beginning of something neither of them expected. Over the next few weeks, Ethan would check on her, sometimes fixing her broken heater, other times bringing Lily along with homemade soup or flowers from the park. Ava found herself looking forward to those visits more than she'd admit. Lily would sit beside her, asking innocent questions about her life, her company, and even her wheelchair. "Do you miss walking?" she once asked. Ava smiled sadly. "Every day." The little girl thought for a moment and then said, "It's okay. My mommy can't come back either, but Daddy says love makes us strong even when we're broken. Those words pierced through Ava like sunlight through clouds. For the first time in a long while, she felt something stir in her heart. Hope. As the days turned into months, Ethan's quiet strength became her anchor. He never treated her like she was fragile or broken. When she doubted herself, he reminded her of who she was, the woman who built an empire, who fought her way to the top. Under his steady encouragement, she began therapy again, pushing herself harder each day. It wasn't easy. There were nights when she cried from pain and frustration, cursing her body, cursing fate. But Ethan was always there, patient, kind, unyielding. That he told her once, "You don't have to walk to stand tall, Ava." Somehow, that sentence changed her more than months of counseling ever had. But healing, real healing, never comes without fear. One evening, when she managed to take her first few steps with braces, she fell. The pain was sharp, but what hurt more was the humiliation. Ethan rushed to help her, but she snapped, "Don't. I don't need your pity." He froze, hurt flickering in his eyes. "It's not pity," he said quietly. "It's love." The room went silent. For the first time, she saw in his eyes not just kindness but something deeper, a love born not of rescue, but of understanding. The same night, after he left, Ava sat alone in her apartment, staring at the reflection of her brace-bound legs in the window. And she realized she wasn't afraid of falling. She was afraid of needing someone. But maybe needing someone wasn't weakness. Maybe it was human. The next morning, she showed up at his workshop, rain or shine, determination in her eyes. "Teach me to fix something," she said. Ethan laughed in surprise, but handed her a wrench. "All right, boss," he said playfully. It became their routine, therapy in the mornings, work at the shop in the afternoons, dinner with Lily at night. Slowly, her smile returned. So did her strength. Months later, she walked again, not perfectly, not easily, but proudly. Her company reached out, offering her position back. But she said no. She had found something richer than success. She wanted to open a foundation to help others with disabilities, to give them hope and purpose. Ethan and Lily were right beside her the day the foundation opened, the three of them standing together, smiling beneath the same sky that once drenched her in despair. Sometimes life takes away everything just to give us what truly matters. That night, as they walked home in the rain, the same rain where their story began, Ava looked at Ethan and whispered, "You didn't just save me. You taught me how to live again." He smiled, slipping his hand into hers. "And you taught me how to love again." Lily giggled between them, splashing in puddles, her laughter echoing like music through the wet streets.